Would you like to play a good piano solo, but you think it's always just the others, and it's just a matter of God-given talent, which you of course don't have? Can we actually do something about it? Of course we can. We can think about what makes beauty, what makes good in music, in all styles. We're talking here about blues, jazz, classical, it's cross-style. I will go a little bit into detail, because you have to understand the basics also. So it's a little bit more talk. With a little bit of concept and knowledge, you can play a big part in improving your piano solo. Enjoy, I hope you like it. See you later. There might be different definitions. I have to settle with one definition. My definition is a improvisation is good when it raises the interest of the listener and keeps it over the time until you finish, so that they don't get up halfway and John, let's go, pay the 20 beers, we are off, this guy's boring. For that we need positive emotions from them. We can raise emotions by virtue of virtuosity, just like that. And people will be in awe and say, wow. But we can also talk about beauty. Although you might find all these other things also beautiful, we can agree about that there are certain rules of what in general we perceive as beautiful. About elements that we find in all improvisation, even in composed music, that is beautiful. So improvised music and composed music also have things, or should have things, in common. Like in painting, imagine you have a painting and that is just crisscross black strokes, or just an empty canvas. But imagine if there's a little flower or shape of a flower on the shape of a tree. You start to find that interesting because you like those shapes. They raise a certain positive emotion. But it's still quite amazing that we have shapes people find beautiful, because music is such an abstract thing, and yet we feel there are shapes. There are two kind of shapes we can differentiate. One are motifs. When we talk about motifs, like we will do in this tutorial, we have to differentiate between a melodic motif and a rhythmic motif. Now, what is a motif in general in music? Well, I first show it to you. If I play like this, for example, do you find that extremely beautiful? Is that the beginning of a nice solo that will capture the audience? Nope. What about this one? So there were 5 notes. What about this one? Also 5 notes. Why did you find that nicer? Because it has a feeling of it's an entity, it's belonging together. Just by feeling, you feel it. It belongs together. The notes create a shape, right? Other than this one, it's not a shape, it's just 3 dots. And so, a motif is actually the smallest musical unit. Or let's say, meaningful unit. It has a motif, starts to have a meaning for the listener. And this is where we start getting his interest, that something has a kind of meaning. Small motif. And you will start to listen because, what's that? Now you know motifs. Everybody knows motifs without knowing that they're called motifs. For example, let's talk about this one. It's one of the most genius motifs there ever was. Everybody knows it, sometimes even kids, when the parents send them to school. And you know also motifs like is a motif. It's quite a long motif already. And then comes another small motif, and motifs together can become a melody. Okay? Since there will be a lot of blues piano players sitting in front of this screen right now, so what would be a motif in blues piano, for example? Okay? If you hit on something that sounds great, like I don't say it's great, but let's say you will try to do something, maybe develop it in, you see, and here already we experience something that is important because in music we live in a timeline. Music is happening in time, and if you just found one motive, say, yes, I found one, and I'm going to exploit it. So maybe with variations, like, or it's the same motive. You can feel their relatives, right? It's just one note changed. How you will do this, you learned in my improvisation course. I will link that down. How to like do variations of the same motive, or you can just take the rhythmic structure of that motive and play it somewhere else, like ba da 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 da, and you will still feel it is that it's a close relative, the original. Like, oh, and we already covered 10 seconds. John, stay, this guy's good. And we develop something, and this is keeping the interest of the listener. They see, they're following this little animal, and you see, we just kept the rhythmic structure. It's very strong to develop a motive. Just keep the rhythmic structure, and you can do almost anything. You see, and I have already covered a little part of my improvisation, and you can be sure everybody would be staying because they feel it's growing, and growth is something we love to watch. Now, if you don't have your own motives, because you're not a genius like me, in traditional music, like blues, for example, there are plenty of motives to take, and you might be amazed. They are called licks. So if you have, for example, you get them from many bad tutorials, but also from mine. And so these are like served for you on a plate, like. These licks are motifs that have survived the decades and have proved to be really strong against the test of time. And that makes it easier, for example, to enter into blues improvisation. If you have a couple of those motives ready to play, that's what you all want, to learn licks, and then you play. And then maybe. See? Close relative. And you take it, you put it on F, and nice, follow this. And then if you exploited this enough, you take another motive, and be assured, as I said, there's always filling time in solos where I don't have a clue what I'm playing. Like, I just fill in with cliches I learned before, so routines, until I wait for the next good idea I have. Maybe never during that gig, maybe I have 3 on a good day. Even big stars like Miles Davis have good days and not so good days, of course, on a high level. In jazz, a motive could be you heard the structure was the same, huh? Same, huh? Developing just by the rhythmic structure. You have something in classical, you know this lick? It's really boring. It's by my friend and colleague Johann Sebastian Bach, and he also thought it's boring. It's just a C major, just on the basic chords of C. So I think, well, maybe I can rescue it by going into a variation mode. It's all the same bloody motive. It's same, repeated. Then I thought, well, if I chase it through different chords, then it might actually be kind of like blockbuster. then G7, one motive, and he's using that far longer. You see, there's a lot to gain in motives, and be sure he probably made that up while improvising at home in his penthouse, 1640 probably. So this is the thing. Now we can also do, what can we do also with motives? We can echo it, for example, like you have then we have well, it's the beginning of an Oscar Peterson blues, but it's a motive anyway. And then I just echo it, because that is what we humans also know from real life. Echo. Hello, echo. So we can echo it straight on F. It's not even changed. It's the same. And okay, so these are motives. If you hit a motive, if you steal a motive, try at home developing it with the tips I just gave you. Now there are also rhythmic motives. Of course, if we have this, it has a very little harmonic melodic movement. 2 notes. The strong part here is the rhythmic element. Da 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 da. It's the knocking of fate, of death, of destiny. And of course we have a little melodic movement, but the main thing, the thing that sticks, is the rhythm. And to give you a really great example of just almost only rhythmic motive is, could there be a motive with just 1 note? You bet. This is just a little samba with upon 1 single note. Okay, yes, and it's a hit with 1 note. There are many motives, you know, that are mostly rhythmic. What about this one? 2 notes also. But what you keep in mind is I could start an improvisation like you see? And everybody would follow and find it funny and would stay emotionally with this little motive I just played. And now I'll play a little blues and another example for motive-oriented improvisation. here I decided I do it in several parts. Of course, there's more to it. Of course, this was just one example. Other examples are scale play. With scales, we can freely create wonderful shapes that again create attention and emotions. And what about the drama of a solo? When to climax? What about emotions? Is a hot solo necessarily a good solo? Or can it be cool and still good? Questions over questions. If you would like to go on with this series, please leave me a like. I'll be happy about that. Then I can see what you want. You can subscribe. You can even donate if you like. Support me with my channel here. And I say bye-bye for now. Hopefully see you soon. Take care. All the best.